right, guys, not a long video. We're going to take a look at this. But this is an interesting video I wanted to take a look at with y'all. It's called From Midnight Magic to Grave Dancing, What Happened to Gamers and Devs.
In Midtown, it's raining here in New York, but these gamers don't care. They've been out here in the rain since early this morning, and they're not leaving until they get an Xbox 360.
Came out, man, I was hooked. Elo tree.
What's going on?
Remember when a new game dropping felt like Christmas morning for both the players and the devs? You would have these midnight launches where gamers would line up for hours to be the first to buy a new Xbox or the latest Halo. It was magical. And if a game ended up flopping, no big deal. Better luck next time. But that's not what's happening today. Take Marathon. It launches and it becomes the hill to die on. You have rabid fans attacking anyone with even mild criticism, and haters grave dancing on the game before it's even been out for one day. Bungie already had to rush out patches for microtransaction complaints and audio changes, yet the negativity keeps rolling. It feels like some people are treating the whole thing like a spectator sport. So what happened? Why do game developers and gamers feel like enemies? Why don't we feel like teammates anymore? What happened to the camaraderie that we had in the past? Well, for starters, the industry used to be much smaller. When I started playing games, I was the weird one. When I started making them, everyone thought I was crazy. The teams were small, there were 10 to 100 people, and they were passion projects. The game developers were gamers because many of them started by modding in their garages. They were the audience, so there was no disconnect. They didn't need a big playtest group because they could tell if what they were making was fun. And they didn't face the issue a lot of devs face today in big studios, where they land on a game that they wouldn't play themselves. There was definitely some competitiveness, but it was all in fun. Peter Moore, who ran Xbox back in the day, has talked about how he encouraged the console wars. He said he did it because gamers loved seeing the Xbox versus PlayStation arguments.
It was fun.
And that healthy competition lifted all ships. Behind the scenes, we still went to each other's parties and we celebrated our gaming wins together. It felt like a real community. It felt like we were all part of the same team and part of the same club.
When did gaming stop being weird? You know, like what year? What year? Give it to me. When did gaming become mainstream? Where was suddenly like everyone's gaming? Post 2014, 2017 and beyond? Dude, there was like, it's kind of like anime, man. Like anime at one time, you know, was looked at as like weird. And now everybody watches anime and it's become mainstream. And that's brought a level of scrutiny alongside it as well. COVID, it was when Drake and Ninja played Fortnite together. Oh my God. No, dude. I feel like it was before then. The Ninja Drake collab. Oh my God. Y'all really believe that's when gaming became mainstream?
And the talent in the industry was everywhere. Because making a game was hard, and the technical challenges and the speed of change in hardware kept the bar high. It was about your ability to self-teach and quickly understand the latest tech. You didn't go to GDC to sit through a tutorial on how to inject climate change themes into your game. You went to GDC for survival. You had to learn from all of the amazing people around you. Look at John Carmack. He didn't have a master's degree in computer science. He dropped out of college after a couple of semesters and he taught himself. He co-founded id Software and basically invented the modern first-person shooter with games like Wolfenstein 3D, Doom, and Quake. Yes, there was some big money to be made, but it wasn't about that. id Software started with shareware. They would release the first part of the game for free, and if you liked it, you paid for the rest.
That's such a bold, like, you know what I mean? Like, I wish more developers just did this. I know it's a riskier move, but to me, it just screams, it's just such a statement, right? Give people a taste, and then they like it, boom, full send.
That's how Doom spread like wildfire and made them successful without giant marketing budgets. And then everything started to change as games moved from counterculture to mainstream. Of course, back then, most people had no idea who actually made the games. Most game developers were basically anonymous. John Carmack and John Romero built Doom and Quake, but outside of hardcore PC circles, Most gamers didn't even know their faces, and they were easily the most famous game developers back in the day. You didn't see devs on stage giving interviews or posting daily updates. You didn't know their names or what they looked like. The game was the star. Gamers bought it, they played it, and if something was broken, they posted it on a forum or they sent an email. They let the games speak for themselves. Back then, developers were in the trenches making the game, and the players were on the other side enjoying it. There was distance, but it was a healthy distance. That anonymity had real upsides, because it allowed the devs to focus on the work instead of managing their public image. It also meant that when players gave feedback, it usually felt like it was coming from fellow gamers, not enemies. The press were the gatekeepers back then, but reporters mostly focused on the game, not personal questions. There were some disadvantages because these gatekeepers weren't always fair. I remember when I was working on Gears of War, I also was working on Zoo Tycoon, and no matter how good Zoo was, it usually got lower review scores because it wasn't a hardcore game. So you'd have these outlets who were mainly focused on shooters having to do a review of Zoo. They don't like the genre, so the game didn't do that well.
That's also why even within, big journalist studios, you have such different takes in reviews. People just have their own individual preferences. I don't really know exactly how one journalist, say different people at IGN, who gets the task of reviewing certain games. If it always just, if it's something that they volunteer themselves for, if it rotates onto their plate. But I can imagine, you having to play a game that you're just automatically, initially just disinterested in. You know what I mean? Look, you guys give Travis a lot of hell. I think, what did Travis gave Crimson Desert a 6. Yeah, when he gave Marathon a 9. This is also the guy that gave Lightfall a 6, and you guys fucking hated him. And then after we finished Lightfall, everybody was like, maybe he was right. Maybe he was kind of onto something.
We just ignored most of it and kept going. Then everything accelerated when big business really moved in. Investors could smell the money, and suddenly that old model of make a great game, sell it once, and move on wasn't enough anymore. Then resellers like GameStop showed up, and they started reselling the games many times for a cheaper price. Game makers would invest millions in a single-player game and then watch a lot of the money go to the GameStop instead of back to the studio. A popular game could get resold 7 or 8 times, and the developer would only see the money from the first sale. That hurt. And gamers weren't doing anything wrong. They wanted cheaper games. It's understandable what happened, but it made it much harder for the developers to get paid for the work that they were doing. So publishers started chasing the live service dream. Instead of a complete game you buy and own, we got games that are never really done. We have always online requirements, battle passes, digital rights management.
Is that, I've never really put 2 and 2 together. Is that really what led to the big live service push? And I guess everything became digital, was because of the constant reselling. That's crazy. I never really put 2 and 2 together. In retrospect, it makes sense. No, it was Fortnite. I'm gonna be honest, guys. Some of y'all in here, I don't know what y'all are in high school still. There are other games outside of Fortnite and that existed before Fortnite that were also quote unquote live service games. All right. Just like the people in here saying that games didn't become mainstream until Drake and Ninja play together. It's like your framing is all around Fortnite. I'm not saying that Fortnite wasn't an impactful game. It definitely is and was an extremely impactful game, but it's not like the anchor for all of gaming. In a lot of ways, I'd say World of Warcraft might be that. World of Warcraft might have been that. Yeah. As much as Fortnite blew up, wow, man. WoW really set the tone, and fucking everybody was trying to make the next WoW for years. I think people just forget just how massive World of Warcraft was. Just all the cultural aspects around it too. And look, I'm a RuneScape player. I love RuneScape. I probably would have played WoW though if I had a better PC. I just didn't have a good PC. RuneScape was good because it was cheap and you could play it on anything. Dude, you could almost play it on your calculator. RuneScape could run on anything, anywhere, no download necessary. And that's what made RuneScape special. You were at school, you know what I mean? You wanted to just jump on a computer, boom, do it. In the library, do it.
so they don't lose money on the first day, microtransactions for skins, weapons, or even faster progression. And I saw this shift happen up close. I watched games go from millions to hundreds of millions of dollars, the teams ballooning out of control. The pressure changed from make something fun to you're going to have to hit these engagement metrics and these particular revenue targets. Devs who just wanted to pursue cool gameplay, they started answering to spreadsheets. And the players felt it. You don't really buy the game anymore. You license access to something that can disappear if the server shut down. A single player experience with always online checks, loot boxes, and time-limited events. And games started to feel a lot less like entertainment and more like a job with optional spending you could do. Look at what happened with Concord. It launched with huge expectations, it cost a fortune to make, and it shut down within a couple of weeks. Gamers see these expensive live service experiments that nobody really asks for, and when they flop, a lot of people cheer.
Can I just say, when you look at the gameplay of Concord here, I'm not saying it looks good here, but man, dude, it actually makes the gunplay look kind of good. Kind of good. I'm just saying, kind of makes the gunplay kind of good. Disregard the character design. I felt like the game, man, like when you make a hero shooter and you don't include ultimates, why? What were the guys? And like I knew some of the guys at Firewalk Studios. Why? How can you make a hero shooter with no ultimate abilities? Like the most standout thing. Never tried him as playable. I mean, to be honest, like the gunplay was pretty solid. There's literally a character in the game that wielded what, if you played with Last Word in Destiny, it was literally like Last Word. Like I thought the gunplay was solid. I just don't understand. It's like, imagine playing Destiny and you've got your grenade and you got your melee. No supers. And like, it's even worse because one of the most standout features for a hero shooter is a damn ultimate. You know, anyways, this is off topic.
And it shut down within a couple of weeks. Gamers see these expensive live service experiments that nobody really asks for, and when they flop, a lot of people cheer. Not because they hate the developers who made them, but because it feels like the market is finally hearing gamers' voices. And those voices are saying, no, I'm not going to be an endless wallet for you. Gatekeeping has been part of the problem too. It started with game journalists and then moved to streamers and YouTubers. Game companies understandably want to control the message, so they offer early access or they pay the creators directly. It's hard for creators to make money on content, so many of them get lured in. We saw this clearly in 2016 when Warner Brothers settled with the FTC for paying influencers to post positive videos for Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor without proper disclosure. Millions of views later, gamers felt deceived. This is big business. Of course, they're going to protect their...
Yeah, dude. I'm gonna be honest. It's happening even now. Like if you go on TikTok, especially, there are huge campaigns that happen on TikTok where you can make content for a video game. And if you reach a certain view threshold for your video, you get a payout. But you don't have to disclose that there is a payout or that it's a campaign. I think Instagram might be doing it too. But TikTok is a big pusher for that. So, and the payout isn't like much, you know, but it's essentially a great system for the publishers, because essentially what they do is they may put a metric on it that it may have an appealing payout, but it may be a metric that'd be very difficult to hit. So they may say like, if you reach 100,000 views on a video, but to say your video doesn't reach 100,000 views, you don't get payout. There's no payout. But I mean, say it reaches 90,000 views. That's still an advertisement. And now it's free advertisement. But the biggest thing is that it's undisclosed. You know, when you do any type of sponsorship work on Twitch or on YouTube especially, you have to check that it is a sponsored video. You have to disclose that. But like things like Twitter, TikTok, kind of a free-for-all at this point, man. And so there's a lot of incentives. And even outside of that, there's even incentives being pushed for things outside of gaming, just like agenda pushing with weird fucked up payouts for that shit too. So it's a strange world we live in. How is this not fraud? It's just no one's enforcing it. You know what I mean? No one's enforcing anything yet. And I don't know on the TikTok side if anything's going to get enforced anytime soon, because have you seen who bought TikTok?
Investment, and that erodes trust even more. And that's the problem. The gatekeepers often make gamers feel like something is off. At best, they look out of touch. At worst, it feels like they're lying to us. Look at Dragon Age the Veilguard. Okay, critics gave it an 84 on Metacritic. Users? A 4. Compare that to Crimson Desert. It faced heavy backlash over the AI art issue and got hammered by some. Yet many players are actually enjoying the gameplay and the scores show it. Gamers look at that and they start asking why one game seems protected while the other gets dragged no matter.
I didn't play Veilguard, but yeah, look at user reviews, even like verified user reviews too, on like Steam and stuff like that. I didn't play Veilguard. I have no idea. I didn't really have any interest to play it. I don't think, I don't think the game did well, if I remember correctly. Don't look at user reviews. Stop using people to form your own opinion, aka Twitch chats, and then play the game. No, I don't think so. Look, here's the thing, guys. The reason why we watch people watch reviews is it's not just money that you're going to be out of, but it's time. Nothing is worse than getting 10 hours into an experience and then you're like, but wait, maybe it'll get better. Let me give it a few more hours, and then a few more hours, and then before you know it, you're 30 hours deep and you're like, damn it, Starfield is ass. But some people have that experience, myself included, where you have people that review games. It's really nice when they go, hey, listen, this was my experience and it was quite ass. And then I can go, okay, I'm about to save 30 hours of my time.
Or what? And then there are the game developers that sometimes feel threatened on social media, so they lash out and try to control the narrative. And a lot of times they don't realize how out of touch they are with the actual people buying and playing their games. On the one hand, it's understandable. They're heads down working on the game for years. But with bigger teams, a lot of times you're also getting people on the project who are no longer there to make the best game possible. You get consultants or internal voices pushing priorities that have nothing to do with fun. Take the art director on Avowed. When he was challenged about some of his creative choices, he posted that he so badly wanted to make Elon Musk mad with his game. Obviously, his focus wasn't on making...
Did he really? What the fuck? Legit reason, in my opinion? No, man. Dude, come on, guys. Come on. Oh, we get way off the beaten path here. You know what I mean? I do think that developers, and I know it's difficult, because when somebody's trashing what you've been working on for a number of years, you wanna defend what you've made. Look, man, I get told things all the time on here. Things like Cross is always getting carried. How can someone be so bad at games? How can someone find such comfortable backpacks all the time? But here's the thing. I can focus on those comments, or I can remember the uplifting comments. Like, I think Cross is cheating. There's no way his aim is that clean. Hot damn, how does he do it? These are the things that I like to remember. I just remind myself of it. You know what I mean? So here's the thing though. If it's all negativity, it kind of sucks, right? If I was a developer, I don't see a situation where clapping back at potential buyers of your game ever works out. Somebody point me to an example where it does, but everyone is a potential customer, and clapping back or trying to own individuals, I don't know if it necessarily works, man. I'm trying to remember the guy from years ago. He was the developer. Oh God, what was the game, guys? It was before Hyperscape. It was a game. It was an arena shooter, and it flopped. It flopped terribly. Lawbreakers. Y'all remember Lawbreakers? Listen, man, everybody feels differently about, where I'm coming from, but I think there's a right way to handle things and a wrong way to handle things. And Lawbreakers wasn't terrible by no means, but it wasn't great. But when you take it personally to the point where you're like, people should like this game, you know what I mean? It just doesn't go over well.
Making a fun game for the players. It was about pushing a message, and that message has reach. Controversial rage bait gets amplified fast on social media. Even when developers are trying to be measured, their words can get twisted, and the next thing you know, their game is caught in the crossfire. And this is why we're here today. The camaraderie we used to have took a real hit. When the relationship is built on how much more can I get you to spend on my game, trust erodes fast. When your favorite influencer or journalist is suddenly praising a game that clearly isn't good, trust erodes fast. And when you find your favorite game maker is more focused on pushing a message instead of making a great game, trust erodes fast. I started as a board gamer because that's all we had when I was a kid. But as soon as I could start playing video games, I did. And I remember how magical those early days were. And as a gamer first and later a game developer, I see both sides. And when I look at this rift, it's heartbreaking, right? Game developers just want to make the games that they love. They want to make a game and let everything like the money and how we get to the next one sort itself out. And most players just want to play the game. They don't want to have to try to figure out how they're being conned or spend hours researching to make sure that the game that they're being sold is what they're actually buying. I still long for those simpler days. I understand things change, but I also believe we can get back to what made gaming special. At some point, the game makers and the players need to give each other some grace, because we are all on the same team. At the end of the day, we all want great games to play and to make.
It's been a year since we launched Baldur's Gate 3 and the response to the game has been absolutely fantastic. You guys have overwhelmed us with feedback. You've overwhelmed us with fan creations, going from videos to music to cosplay to poetry to gifts that you sent to our studios. It's been very rewarding but also very inspiring. You have no idea how much energy developers like us take from feedback like yours.
This is a good video, guys. Very, very good video. You know, I don't know. Y'all feel like there will ever be a reversal? Will there ever be? I think certain game communities already have that connection with each other. And it may just be a case-by-case basis. Digital Extreme is a great example of that, right? They still have that community where, you know, it seems like they're very much tapped into what the developers are very much tapped into what their community wants. But I don't know as far as like the wider scale if that's going to take place. I will say this for the developers out there. How many developers out there, when they are making the game that they are making, actively want to play the game that they are making? Like really, really. I feel like you could tell the difference when the developers themselves were obsessed with what they were making, when they were just giddy as f. That's why a lot of the people that are part of communities end up going to go work at the studio because they are already obsessed with the game. I think GGG is a great example of that, man. You just tell those developers, man, they know their shit. Why? Because they play the out of their own stuff. You know what I mean? They played the shit out of it. Those streams from GGG where they're sitting there, game directors are talking about Path of Exile is incredible, man. It really is, dude. They hit every damn point. And I don't know, maybe internally for the PoE community, they see it differently, but as someone outwardly looking in, I really appreciate those live streams from them. GGG misses the mark a lot, so not a good example. Again, I don't know, man. I guess that one, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not in tune with everything that's happening in the PoE community. I very much enjoy new season launches for PoE when I do jump in, and I enjoy how GGG shares their messages. I also think like old school RuneScape is a great example of that too. You just have people there. It almost seemed like there was a split. The people that split into RuneScape 3 follow the new identity, right? The new talent that follow the new identity for what RuneScape was trying to become. But old school RuneScape was like a bunch of players and developers that knew exactly what made RuneScape special, and that's what they committed to. All I could say, guys, on this one is right now more than ever, people are able to monetize and in a lot of different ways. And I think when you have that level of monetization, what I mean by that is like Twitter is full of the worst takes I've ever seen in my life. The shittiest shit you could ever fathom. And I feel like we're living kind of in a rage bait culture right now because unfortunately it pays, man. It pays. It's engagement. You get paid for just engagement. Go on Reddit. Holy f. Yeah, but I don't think you get paid on Reddit, do you? I think they just say that shit for free. Tell me differently. I don't know. And that's the other side of things though, too. I'm reaching a point with the internet, guys, where I don't really know what's real anymore. There's just so many bots now, dude. Really, really. And those bots will just say just the most random. It's like their whole goal is just to create engagement. And this is across all sites, dude. Majority of Twitter accounts nowadays are bot accounts from India and South Asia. Yeah. And I mean, look, from the metric side of things, those that own the platforms, all they care about is just engagement, right? Just engagement. That thing on TikTok, though, that I just brought up, that's a scary thing, man. We're living in a world right now where there are payouts are taking place based on view metrics that anyone can hit or anyone can attempt to hit, and it's undisclosed. So you can jump on there. You can say, hey, Raid Shadow Legends is the greatest game ever made. You know what I'm coming from? And if that video hits a certain amount of views, you get a payout. And then you don't even have to initially disclose that you were ever paid. This is after the fact. And that is happening all over. Nothing against Raid Shadow Legends, dude. You know where I'm coming from? Like, I'm just using that as an example.
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.